Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to Apply. All right, so today I have Connie Kadansky on the line, and she's president over at Exceptional Sales Performance. Connie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my gosh, Connie. So we have quite a topic today. A lot of entrepreneurs out there listening today, and we'll talk about tackling sales call reluctance, which, by the way, you are 100% the most qualified expert I've had on the show, and I've done over 4,000 episodes at this. So I know you've been working on this one particular niche, for decades, and I believe over 20 years. So I'm excited to get your expertise and your knowledge on this to my audience, and just to get us kicked off, I'd like to start with our signature question. So, Connie, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. So that's our mission here. Connie, what mission matters to you?
At Exceptional Sales Performance, we have a double mission in helping salespeople who suffer from sales call reluctance so that they can set more appointments and close more sales. And then the second one is help companies stop hiring salespeople who experience high levels of call reluctance because it is very costly. And Adam, the definition for call reluctance is that emotional hesitation to proactively prospect and self-promote. So I like to get that out there so people know exactly what is this sales call reluctance. That's amazing, and you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say it defined it, and you did. So thank you for that. So I guess let's go one step further. So Exceptional Sales Performance, like what led you to found this company? Tell us a little bit more about the inception. Well, I was a call reluctant salesperson, and I was motivated. I had goal orientation, and I was taking a nap at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I just was so beside myself, and I went on the internet and found the two behavioral scientists who own the trademark Sales Call Reluctance. And I flew to Dallas, and I went through a 3-day fear-free prospecting program. And then I coached with one of the behavioral scientists for 10 weeks. And after that, she goes, Connie, you really get this. Would you like to become a licensee of ours? And so I jumped ship, and I've been doing this for 25 years now.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing story! So, and I love when businesses are formed like this or ideas are formed like this. So essentially, you had a problem yourself, so you were having an issue with sales call reluctance yourself. So then you went to go solve your issue or your challenge, and then in doing that, you end up becoming a benefit to many others.
Yes, it's so gratifying. I love it.
Wow.
What a story. So now let's, what kind of, just to give us a little bit more on the company, what kind of companies do you work with? Is this like B2B, or do you work with people individually? Is it only big companies, only small companies? Like, give us a feel for who typically benefits most from working with you and your team.
Well, I work with salespeople who must keep a full pipeline or they will not succeed. So I work with commercial insurance, financial services, and mortgages right now. And it really applies to all companies because we're all in business to sell, right? And my definition of selling is solving people's problem for a profit. That is just as clear as it can be. So I love working with individuals, the financial advisors that have their own independent business. And right now I'm working with a mortgage company that did $89 billion last year. So big and small, it just depends on how the stars align and how it all comes together.
That's amazing. So what are some of the biggest factors that lead to sales call reluctance?
Well, believe it or not, the number 1 and 2 carriers of sales call reluctance are sales managers and sales trainers.
What?
Yes.
I wouldn't expect that.
I know. So oftentimes there's 16 types of call reluctance. And one of the major types is role rejection, meaning that the salesperson has a negative stereotype around salespeople. And they feel that it imposes this really heavy burden on them around getting out there and having conversations with people. And oftentimes, sales trainers and sales managers approach the training from, now don't be picking up the phone and calling people. They don't like to be called on the phone. Wow, the manager just planted a seed. Or don't be like this and don't be like that and don't do this, and people don't like salespeople. So oftentimes they're actually contaminating the very people they intend to inspire, unbeknownst to them.
Wow, that I never would have guessed that. But now that you say that, I feel like, I wonder if I've ever said that. Like, I'd be guilty too. I'll just pick on myself if I was like, people don't want to be sold to. Like, why would you say that? Like they want to be this, they want to be that. So sometimes you can plant a seed that can then grow and create some maybe negative things that you didn't want to happen. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes. And then another factor is self-promotion, right? The fear of self-promotion, where people just aren't comfortable promoting themselves and creating visibility in their marketplace. They feel that there's something wrong with it, and so they're not comfortable getting out there and exposing themselves in a professional way, that this is what they do for a living. And then the third factor is that salespeople are not convinced of the value that they provide. And so in overcoming call reluctance, we really look at mindset. And the salespeople that have call reluctance, they're really approaching it from a self-centric mindset where it's all about me. So what's in it for me? What will they think of me? How do I keep control? How will I look good? So it's all around focusing on themselves. And the goal with the coaching and training is to get them to recognize that it's about creating value. So what is the value that they are creating for their prospect? And that's when they really connect to the humanness of the prospect. So those are the distinctions.
So if I'm a salesperson and I'm watching this right now, and obviously I know the main thing we want people to do is definitely follow up with you. Like we can't, we can only cover so much in a 15-minute interview. But like, what is something that somebody can do like today? What's a tip or two on like what they can do today to start, just even going down that path of overcoming call reluctance?
There are 4 steps to overcome call reluctance. So number 1, you have to be aware of it. And how are you aware of it? How much money is in your checking account today? And how many appointments do you have on the books? So if somebody's not happy with the money in their bank account or their appointments, that's where call reluctance shows up first. So they need to be aware of it. And call reluctance is nothing to be embarrassed about. Living with it needlessly is. So become aware of it. And then the second one is to assess. So there is a free assessment on my website where people can take their prospecting EKG. And then I also have a comprehensive assessment that there is a financial investment. And then I give them a debrief, and then they get a book that is correlated with that. And then the third step is to admit it, because oftentimes that's the hardest part. Admit that they are reluctant. So another type of call reluctance is referral aversion. So they're not comfortable asking their current clientele for introductions. Wow. So they're not comfortable leveraging their network. Or people who sell to a high-end prospect, if they're socially self-conscious and they're intimidated by that upscale buyer, that was one type that I had, intimidated by an upscale buyer. And then telephobia is only one of the 16 types, and you can overcome that.
Telephobia? Wait a minute, telephobia? I've never heard that. What? This is amazing. Go ahead, please. I had to point that out. I've never heard of the term telephobia. It's amazing.
Well, people are reluctant to use the telephone. And the pandemic has brought an epidemic of call reluctance because that people are not out networking. They're not knocking on doors. They're not going to trade shows and all this that used to generate their leads. So telephobia, I overcame it in one morning in my office. If it's truly the telephone that people are intimidated by using the telephone and having that conversation. So we have to admit, you know what? I admit that I'm not comfortable with this. Just go ahead and admit it. And then the fourth is to really apply proven techniques, which what's involved is cognitive behavioral psychology, performance psychology, and neuroscience, believe it or not, and positive psychology. So I work within the realm of all 4 of those in helping people to really overcome this reluctance that is costing them such big bucks once and for all.
Wow, that's amazing. I love it, and I'm a big fan of what you're doing and helping people, and especially right now, as you mentioned, like where people have this phobia and they can't do the normal in-person that maybe they've done in the past. But hey, business still has to get done, right? And there's a lot of companies that are growing and that have benefited, and I can think about like I remember like in some of the sales positions I had when I started my career in sales, and I was in homes, like face to face. And then over time, I ended up transitioning to the telephone. And when I transitioned to the telephone, I was just that much more productive. I made way more money, but I had to get over that fear of the phone because I had this thing in my head where I was just like, oh, well, I do better in person or something else. And really, it was just I didn't understand what I was doing. But once I got the right training and once I saw the numbers and everything else, then I was like, whoa, I love the phone. Why do I want to drive to somebody's house if I can just use this magical thing called a telephone and be that much more efficient and have it work for me? So that's why I'm a big fan of what you're doing and just of salespeople using the phone and of closing deals that way, and really of maximizing their time and their outreach. So this is great. So I would say, what is, Connie, if I could get maybe just one thought on this for the sales managers out there. So we talked a lot about the person that's picking up the phone, right? For the sales managers and some of the leadership that you mentioned earlier, that sometimes these are the roots of possibly where some of the problems start from. What kind of advice would you give to the sales managers and the leadership at organizations as they start going down this path after they listen to this? We got a lot of business owners and executives that listen to this show. So after they listen to this and they're looking for resources, I mean, they're going to get ideas. What should they be thinking about?
Well, number one, don't kid yourself of how impactful and influencing you are to your salespeople, because people mirror their managers. And to recognize when you may be actually, unbeknownst to you, expressing call reluctance in some way around going, again, don't do this and don't do that and don't be a this person and all that kind of stuff. Tell them what to do and really monitor. Are you coming from a inspiring place, or are you inflicting some fear in hope that they'll figure it out? Because it can really be a showstopper for people.
Fantastic. Well, Connie, I can talk to you about this all day long because I know you are a wealth of information on this topic, but we're about out of time for this episode. So that being said, if somebody's watching this and they want to learn more about how to work with you and your team, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, you just pick up the phone. Give me a call at 602-380-5431. And also LinkedIn, Connie Kadansky. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And then my website is exceptionalsales.com. And there is a free opt-in report there where you can actually get that free assessment and run through it. And there's one for sales managers and for individual sales people. And then that will get you into my system, and you can expect a call from me. And just to explore, right? To explore whether this is something that you're ready to focus and give your attention to, because timing is everything.
Wonderful. Well, Connie, again, thank you for coming on the show. What's that phone number one more time?
602-380-5431.
Perfect. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. Hope you're going to be picking up that phone to make some calls. And if you're watching or listening for the first time, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We definitely want you to be a return listener and a return visitor. Have many more great mission-based entrepreneurs and businesses coming up for you next, and don't want you to miss anything. And Connie, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Adam.